in recent years. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Is this the tether?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. If you've never taken the time to watch the ceremony, you really should tune in tomorrow. Tight end Antonio Gates, who played all 16 of his NFL seasons with the Chargers, is one of the Hall of Fame inductees. He's the first NFL player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame who did not play college football. Gates played basketball at Kent State University. He led Kent State to the Elite Eight in the 2002 NCAA tournament. Gates was not drafted by any NBA teams. No NFL team drafted him. The Chargers took a chance on Gates in 2003 and signed him as a rookie free agent. Today, Gates' 116 touchdown catches is the most by a tight end in NFL history. Gates also is the Chargers' all-time leader with 955 catches and 11,841 receiving yards. Not bad for a guy who really wanted to play in the NBA. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
What make you? Yeah.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in to First Things First with the Queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is called First Things First. So glad it's your first thing. My very first thing today, giving thanks, giving praises, and asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. What a nice surprise. Okay, so I'll tell you the surprise in a second. So this is how we do things on a Monday. Hour 1, we look local, what's going on the left coast side of town. Hour 2, we go national, international, and beyond, leading off with our Mindful Monday, where we do a little guided meditation affirmation to get ourselves together for the week. In hour 3, we do a deep dive with a hot topic or a person of interest. Today, we're going to be talking with Dr. Sunshine. Her book is here, Employing Your Pain. So we're going to talk about turning our trauma into productivity, which seems very, very, very relevant at the moment. We'll talk with Sahara Ali. As I said, she'll get us on a trajectory for a great week. But the nice surprise is, well, my once a month partner in politics is live in the studio. LaMika is a professor. She's a mama. She's an activist and a trainer of people in things diversity, equity, and inclusion oriented. LaMikia Castillo, great to see you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to be here in the flesh with you today.
Yes. I mean, no shade to Miles Lowe, but it's great to have someone in the studio. Miles representing with a big old Las Vegas shirt. I can tell he went home this weekend. But it's always nice to see you live and in person.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah. So lots to talk about, and you're invited in at 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580, or you can go to YouTube and go to KBLA 1580, join the comments, which is always a great conversation. So it's back to school time. It seems like a distant memory. My child is now a sophomore in college, but you got little ones.
Yes, I do. 5, 3, and 14 months.
Yeah, which is one of the reasons I was so surprised to see you in the studio. 5, 3, and 14 months. You are my hero. 1 was like, woo, a lot for me.
Yeah, 3 is a lot,
and
especially it's all boys. Yeah, 3 boys is
boys.
definitely a lot. But I come from a big family. I'm the oldest of 11. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so I'm used to having a lot of kids, but that's why it took me forever to have children. My husband and I were married for almost 14 years before we had our first child.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what, maybe we can get you guys in here one day for a Black Marriage Monday and talk about, that's amazing. That obviously was intentional.
Yes, it was definitely intentional. We weren't sure if we were going to have kids for a long time because he's also the oldest of 11. We both come from big families.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Black love goals.
Black love goals. And our 18-year wedding anniversary is coming up on August 25th, which is a Monday. So at the end of this month.
Well, congratulations. That's amazing. And I think it's smart if you can do it because it's nice to have time where it's just you guys.
Yeah.
Paying attention to each other.
Yes, which is very difficult to get these days, especially during the past 5 years since we've had kids.
Yeah, 3, 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. But they're adorable. And
Thank you.
Yeah, and we appreciate you bringing conscious Black boys into the world.
Thank you. It's a gift.
I was going to ask you about the LAUSD, this decision that came down where, the public schools are fighting with the charter schools about who gets to use space on the campuses. And for the most part, those charter schools are public schools, but they mostly have non-union teachers. They have fewer rules they have to follow. And so the public schools weren't real thrilled about sharing campus space. Now it looks like the courts are saying they have to. They have to share.
I saw that. And, so I actually worked in the education, K through 12 public education space for a little while, about a decade ago. And this has been an ongoing battle since charter schools came onto the scene here in California. I think there's been a major uptick in charter schools wanting to co-locate because of a lack of space.
Is that what you call it, co-locate?
They call it co-location.
Sounds like the official language.
It is. I've worked in education. It's the official language. And so that's been a struggle actually for quite some time. I was kind of surprised to see, because I haven't worked in that space as closely as I did before, as directly, to see that this was still an issue. As you mentioned, charter schools are considered public schools in the state of California, actually in pretty much every state, because they do receive public dollars. And the challenge with the co-location is that at least what I've seen in the past is that, you have, for example, a high school that has a cafeteria that all the students are supposed to go to, but now you have 2 schools that have to share that. And so you have to split the schedule for who's going to the cafeteria, who's using the playground, who's using, the gym and things of that nature. But they are using public dollars. And so it wasn't surprising that to me that the judge had decided that the LAUSD we call them traditional public schools, would have to share spaces with the charter schools.
The thing that surprised me about, this is that right now the schools are fighting for students. And a lot of times they're fighting between charters and publics. The charters make a lot of promises, and many parents feel like it's a better choice for their child. When I was doing the research about where to place my kid, I found that charters overall do not have a better record in terms of academics than the public schools. What you're calling traditional public schools actually did better with preparing students for college and the grades and things. But charters, you have more flexibility. You have more different kind of models of schools.
Yeah, I think charter schools have a lot more leeway than traditional public schools in some regards, right? They still have to have the same standardized tests and things of that nature. But when it comes to how teachers teach in the classroom, there is more flexibility, like as you say. And I agree with you about the standards. I'm going to be honest with you because it's been quite some time, but when I was working in the education space, I worked for an education nonprofit that was trying to increase diversity and leadership at all kinds of like school districts, traditional schools, charter schools, so on and so forth. And there was one particular charter organization that is based here in South LA. I'm not going to say names, but I will say that if you look back to like 2010, they had some major issues in the media, and the leadership was ousted because of some of these things. But what I saw was that they were actually doing what's called creaming, which means that they were making decisions illegally. This was totally illegal, and it came out in the news to have students who they did not want, they didn't feel like the students would succeed, quote unquote, in their school, to not actually allow them to come into their school, right? So they wouldn't admit them, which is totally illegal. If you're a school in a community, you're supposed to serve the community. Doesn't matter what the student's grades were previously, or if the student was on probation or whatever the case may be. And so I know that this particular charter management organization, the leadership was doing that. They were denying students. They would say, oh, this student is in the 11th grade and they're trying to transfer to our school now. They're probably going to be a problem. Tell them we don't have any seats. And this is the honest truth. I experienced that. I reported it, but I think that's some of the reason why you see what you said.
Yeah, and I've heard UTLA teachers complaining about that, where the charters will only take the students they think have more promise, and then their scores are going to reflect that, whereas the public schools have to take everyone's supposed to take everyone, I guess what you're saying.
Yeah.
But they don't. And so now you're being compared with a school that doesn't allow any special ed students, or doesn't allow any students with disciplinary problems. And so it's not even a fair comparison when you take that into account. I hadn't even thought about that, LaMika. When you take that into account, public schools are probably doing a lot better than the charters. Because I was comparing, and I'm that hyper mom that not only do I want to look at how your kids are doing in terms of their grades and their outcomes with college, I want to see how your black students are doing.
Right.
Because, for example, I looked at Culver City. A lot of parents in South LA want to move their kids to Culver City schools because they think they're better. But when I look at the data with black students, it's terrible.
Right.
Their overall performance is great. But you look at how black students are doing in that system, it is not good.
Right.
So I had no desire to send my child there, because everyone else is thriving, but not black kids. No, thank you.
Yeah, I just actually had this conversation with my sister, who was looking at transferring my niece to a different school, and a friend of hers, also a black parent, said, oh, this Culver City does well. And I said the same thing to my sister. I said, but have you looked at the black student data? And from an academic term, we use the term disaggregate the data, right? Which basically means let's pull the data apart to see who's actually doing well. And you're right. When you look at black students, they're not faring well.
They're suffering,
right?
Actually. So unless your kid is a football player, LOL, they're still going to suffer, but at least they'll be able to play football. 800-920-1580 if you want to weigh in. I think that was, I don't know what came over me, but that was the decision maker. Because there's so many districts. I mean, you look at Palos Verdes. Wow, just great numbers. Look at how black students are doing there, all three of them. Not so good.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that anti-black racism plays a critical role in that, right?
Yeah.
I think people, because we think, well, as you mentioned, the school district is doing well, students overall are doing well, but we don't always consider, well, my child would be one of 3 black students in the class. And I didn't experience that until I was in college. I went to UC San Diego. The black student population was less than 1%.
Wow.
Right. And so in college is when I first experienced being literally one of 500 one black student of 500 students in a classroom. And that was a culture shock for me. I can't even imagine our babies experiencing that. And when it looks like academically the schools are doing well, doesn't matter if emotionally our children are being neglected, if they're being bullied because of their race, and they have a hard time talking about it, or they talk about it, but it's like, oh, but this is a good school. And I think that's some of the conversations that happen with parents who really want the best for their kids, but don't take all of those things into consideration.
Yeah, well, I thought I was, but it's hard to think of everything. But disaggregating is super important, because what's good for the goose ain't always good for the black kid. 800-920-1580. That's the number if you got a thing to say. And of course, don't forget, we're on all social media platforms. We're at KBLA 1580. Like, follow, subscribe, talk. And I'm at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. What's your social again?
LaMikia Castillo.
She's never on there, but you can still go follow her. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, it's Dominique DiPrima and LaMika Castillo. Of course, Miles Low on the boards. And LaMika showed up. She came. She didn't come to play today. You got your Tupac shirt on.
Listen, I'm ready.
Rest in peace,
Rest
Pac.
in peace.
Yeah, really interesting conversation about schools. I think another piece, I don't know if you're up on this, you probably are, is the Choices program. I notice a lot of black parents don't know about this, where you can, it's through LAUSD, you can apply for all these different schools, some public, some charter, that are not in your district through this thing called Choices. It's an application you fill out.
Yes, I am up on this. And again, I recently had a conversation with my sister because she's looking at transferring my niece. She was going to move her out of LAUSD, but then she decided to stay and use the Choices program. And interestingly enough, for Black parents who are looking at this in particular, my sister's friend told her, well, you know, you got to find the schools that have numbers of low Black students because you have a higher chance of getting selected. So this is how you play the game. And I said to my sister, that may be true. And then my niece is going to be one of few Black students in the classroom. So you have to think about that too. What might be the impacts on her in that regard. And so,
I can tell you, it ain't cute.
Right.
I mean, I as a mom, I don't know that I thought about that thoroughly enough. And I put my child in those situations, and I might as well have just had my own little cot and little post up at that school. I was in the principal's office every 10 seconds. I mean, it's just a lot to put on your kid. But the choice is a good option for people, because at least look at it, because they have a system where if they don't let you in, you get points, and you build up points, and after a while, you are more likely to be able to get into a school that may be good. I mean, it could be not just a charter, but also magnets within LAUSD.
Right. And when I take a step back and reflect on this, it just makes me so upset that this is what we have to do to get our kids into a good school. Like, why can't our school down the street just be a great school for our kids, and that you don't have to play the lottery? That's really what this is, right? You're playing the lottery to try to find a good school for your child, and you don't really know if it's the right fit until your child gets in there. And then, they come home and they say things are going great, or you see the behavior changes and the attitude shift, or, they tell you, Mommy, I really don't like it here. The kids are not kind to me.
Right.
It just, but you're right. It is better than nothing. But I really wish that we had a whole different system where every school that we have access to was a high quality school, and we didn't have to play this game.
Yeah, that is how it should be. That's definitely how it should be, but that ain't how it is. So if you haven't done Choices, you might want to check it out. You can just Google LAUSD Choices, and it's just a little quick form, and then you can start filling it out when your kid is like too young to even go to school.
Right.
Start stacking up those points. Let's go to Fahima calling us from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Fahima.
Johnny and Kate Pasa, Dominique, and greetings to your guests. I just wanted to say a couple of things. One, Diane Ravitch has written extensively on this whole charter school movement, and I had a school friend. Her son was in a charter school, and he had flunked math, I believe, and they actually said in the presence of other students that he needed to transfer. He was admitted in the school, but he wasn't doing well. And so, I'm a clinician, so I came in acting as his educational advocate, and put the fear of God in them, because, this is a violation of confidentiality. But what he ended up doing is during the summer, he went to a community college and took the math, I think it was algebra or whatever, and he did well, and he was able to graduate from that school. But this is an ongoing thing, because many of these charter schools are not in the education business. They're not educated. They're in business. We had Rock Creek Academy here in the District of Columbia, and they had a charter school, and they were there for the 5 years. They got their money, and they got out. And many of them are not educators. They're investing as a business. It's a business and an industry. And lastly, in Louisiana, after Hurricane, in New Orleans in particular, after Hurricane Katrina, which I think we're coming up on the 20th anniversary, they closed all of the public schools, and all of the schools were charters. And you did have a freedom school by the founder of the Children's Defense Fund. But many of those children, they did not have the minimum grade to get into the state university, where, and so a lot of this is just to suck funding away from public schools. And Diane Ravitch has written on this extensively. And I sent you an article on that, and that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Fahima. Any thoughts on what Fahima shared?
So again, the work that I did was with education leadership across the country, and I saw exactly what she's talking about. And in New Orleans was an interesting case, because that was the first place in the country where traditional public schools with the superintendent and the district all went away and the charter schools came in. And what I've seen is that across the South in some states, Black parents will argue that the charter schools, because a lot of them are actually started by Black leaders, that they're providing a better quality education than the traditional public schools because they have a different dynamic than we have here in California, right? In terms of race relations, similar, of course, because it's with Black folks. But I feel like it's complicated and it's not complicated at the same time. Every child just deserves a high quality education. But when it comes down to parents who desperately want something for their children and they're saying that the schools, like, well, when you look at what's going on with the Trump administration and pulling out, books about Black people, not teaching Black history, I think that we're probably going to see more parents trying to start their own schools to be able to combat some of that or to give their kids more options than what they see in the traditional public schools. And I know in places like Tennessee, that's happening quite a bit, of course, like as we mentioned in New Orleans and other places across the South.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's this huge movement with Black parents into homeschooling, and I think that's going to get even more so because even if you start a charter and you're getting public funds, you still have to deal with the cuts, restrictions, and now penalties for schools from the Trump administration, which is punishing people for diversity, equity, and inclusion, or what they consider diversity, equity, and inclusion, even though technically that's not illegal.
Yeah, no, you're right. And of course, for the listeners, I'm one of those parents. My husband and I decided that we are going to homeschool our children. So we have little ones. We do homeschool our children as Black parents who, before Trump was in office, even the first time before we had kids, we made a decision a long time ago that if we had children, homeschooling would be our best option given the anti-Black racism, especially against Black boys, right? And as early as preschool, the data shows that Black boys are suspended at much higher rates. Pretty much they're the only kids almost who get suspended in preschool, which is wild. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I would be up at the school every single day fighting for my kids if I had to, And so then you look at the academic records and the data for Black boys, because the teachers are not teaching to the Black boys and Black girls too, right? I experienced this myself when I was in school. We knew that it was not going to work out for us to have our kids in traditional public schools. And there is a huge movement. Dr. Tyrone Howard talks about this, that the biggest increase in families moving to homeschool are Black parents. And there's a reason for it. And I think it's a privilege to be able to stay home with my kids to teach. And I work from home for the most part, right? And even like as a professor, during the pandemic, I started to teach remotely. And so I can teach in both the remote program or the in-person program. And that I know that I have a huge advantage over other families that don't have that luxury. My mom would never have been able to stay home to educate us. But I definitely encourage parents to look at all of your options, homeschool, this school choice program here in LA and whatever you have available to you. Think about the academics that academic outcomes for your children, but then also think about their identity, how they're going to fit in, how they're going to be treated. Yeah. All of those things are really critical to their growth and success as they become adults.
Yeah, that's so true. In hindsight, having a child now in college, I don't know that I would have made the same choices that I made now, academics over everything, because the social, emotional impact, the weathering, it's a lot for a young person trying to, get grown. Meanwhile, our schools have become battlegrounds. We're just 30 seconds away from news, traffic, and sports. We are going to keep taking your phone calls afterwards. But on Saturday, the LA Teachers Union and their allies held rallies calling on the district to protect immigrant families. They are asking for specific measures. We'll look at what those are. Some feel they should be doing more to protect Black students, but certainly there's an intersection there because we have Black immigrant students. And no matter how you feel about immigrants, schools should not be places where cops go to harass children. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Trump administration is reacting to a weak jobs report. Unemployment rose by 221,000 and only 73,000 jobs were added. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer says cutting interest rates could boost hiring.
It does cause me pause to see such large revisions, and I will take a deeper dive and do an analysis of why those numbers look the way they do.
The labor force shrank by nearly 40,000. Texas House Democrats have left the state to block GOP-backed redistricting maps that could add 5 Republican seats. The move follows a heated hearing and party line vote. Democrats say the maps could suppress voters of color. And Stephen A. Smith pushes back on former First Lady Michelle Obama's podcast comments comparing ESPN to reality TV. He also criticized her past remarks on black voters and says he's frustrated with both the Obamas, calling it emotional manipulation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. If you've never taken the time to watch the ceremony, you really should tune in tomorrow. Tight end Antonio Gates, who played all 16 of his NFL seasons with the Chargers, is one of the Hall of Fame inductees. He's the first NFL player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame who did not play college football. Gates played basketball at Kent State University. He led Kent State to the Elite Eight in the 2002 NCAA tournament. Gates was not drafted by any NBA teams. No NFL team drafted him. The Chargers took a chance on Gates in 2003 and signed him as a rookie free agent. Today, Gates' 116 touchdown catches is the most by a tight end in NFL history. Gates also is the Chargers' all-time leader with 955 catches and 11,841 receiving yards. Not bad for a guy who really wanted to play in the NBA. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least liked to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfiresupport@QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
All right, so today you're waking up with me and LaMikia Castillo, and you, 800-920-1580. Fahima also said in the YouTube chat that vouchers are a ruse, as the funding doesn't cover private elite schools but subsidizes wealthy families. It is a ruse, and a lot of people are confused by that, because what the vouchers do is they take money away from public schools and give it to rich families to pay part of their tuition for their private school.
Right. No, that's exactly it.
And if you're a poor family, you not go into that private school because those vouchers don't give you enough to go there. You would have to have the rest of the money to cover that.
Yeah, you still have to pay something. And so, again, to get high quality, affordable education in this country is nearly impossible, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I encourage families to just look at all your options and see what's available, and don't settle. And also fight for your kids. You know, if your children are not being treated well in the school that you're in, go to public counsel, seek out an attorney for support. I've helped a few families with that, including one of my own sisters with her son when they were not treating him well in actually a charter school that she put him in because she thought it would be better. And we had to seek out legal counsel from public counsel here in Los Angeles to get some support because of the anti-Black racism that was happening against my nephew.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's definitely a problem. Not all skin folk are kinfolk, Charles Green says. Let's go to Dwight calling us from the city of Compton. Good morning, Dwight.
Good morning, Dominique. Good morning, LaMika. I want to thank you for all you're doing.
Close, though.
LaMika. Thank you, LaMika, for all you're doing for the kids. And I wanted to ask LaMika, is it possible that they stop funding schools with property taxes because the wealthier areas are always going to have better schools because their base is coming from more money? I don't know if that's still the case, but at one time I think they were funding the schools with property taxes. Is that right, LaMika?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Dwight. And it's LaMika, like Tamika, but with
sorry,
an L. No
LaMika,
worries.
Okay.
Yeah, so the way that schools are funded is through what's called tax increment financing. And so your property tax dollars do indicate how much money is supposed to go to the schools in your particular area. However, there have been a lot of reforms since, it was 1960 something with Prop 13, where we have I can't remember what it's called. This is my mommy brain at 6:30 in the morning. But there's been a reallocation of dollars through. Dominique, do you remember what it's called?
I don't remember what it's called, but I know what you're talking about, where we used to give funds evenly to all districts, and now there is a calculation of what are considered the more under-resourced areas and high needs areas, and they will get additional funding. So that was a huge breakthrough for California. I don't know that they do that in other states.
Yeah, that is specific to California, and it took place. The changes happened maybe in 2015 or
that sounds right.
Yeah, so it's been about 10 years that's the way that public education is financed here in California, and it is supposed to be making a difference. I think that there's still some challenges with the allocation of resources, and of course,
local control funding formula.
Local control funding formula.
Yeah.
Yes, in LA it's called LCAP.
LCAP.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that those wealthier districts, number one, they have all the infrastructure and better buildings, equipment from all the years before that LCAP, number one. Number two, they still subsidize in ways that our poorer or less resourced districts do not. Those PTAs and the fundraisers and donations that come from parent groups. Well, if you're in a district with more resources, a parent group might give, a whole van or a science resource center. And that's probably not going to happen at a school in Watts because the parents just don't have the dollars.
Right. So even though the LCAP and the local control funding formula was designed to make the funding for schools more equitable, we still see those inequities exist. And taxpayer dollars through property taxes still play a role in, the type of resources that are available within the schools in that community.
Yeah. It's a good question, though, because I don't know how you fix that, because I don't think you can tell parents you can't add value to your children's school, but maybe there's some way that, the state or some county or some federal dollars could be allocated to level that playing field. I remember when I was part of the Steve Harvey Morning Show, and I got the job of going around to all the schools that we had donated books to and delivering those books. And then over the years, just being asked to speak at schools and do the career fairs and things, I have seen with my own eyes the incredible disparity between the physical campuses, the equipment, books that kids have between wealthy districts and less resourced ones. And it's terrible.
It is terrible. And the Black children especially are the ones, our children. I was one of those students, right? I went to a terrible school that we didn't have books. I was in AP Calculus when I was in the 11th grade.
Of course you were.
I was definitely a high achieving, high performing student. And I did really, I think because of the circumstances of where I grew up and everything, everybody responds differently to the trauma. I responded by just putting my head down, focusing on school, and I did really, really well in school. I have a sister who was in the same grade as me. She did okay, right? So, but I was in AP Calculus. We literally did not have books. So I'm in an AP class. We don't have calculus books. How are we supposed to, it's like those movies that we all have problems. I have problems with, like Dangerous Minds, right? Where the white teacher comes in and it's like, let me save these kids. That's what it kind of felt like in that space. But we deserve to have more. We shouldn't have had to, go out and borrow calculus books from the public library because we didn't have them at the time when we were taking an AP calculus class.
That's crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. Well, and that's part of what we're seeing, I think, because the LAUSD, according to the test scores, has bounced back from the pandemic. The scores are back at pre-pandemic levels, except for, guess who?
Yeah,
Black students. Why is that? I have my own theories from what I saw, just trying to get one Black child through the system. And one of them is that it seems so carceral. The way the discipline system works, the way they teach to tests, and the way that they deal with Black children, especially Black boys, but Black children in general. It's so, it's like they're in jail, not school.
The schools look like prisons. I always said that to my husband. I don't want my kids going to any of these schools if we ever have kids, and now we have them. They literally physically look like prisons. And I just want to point out that Black families, Black parents have been fighting for changes for a long time, and there's an organization called Students Deserve, who one of my son's godfathers, Joseph Williams, with Black Lives Matter, is helping to lead the work there, and they've been advocating for a Black student achievement plan where we focus, right, make this more equitable. Let's add more dollars to for resources for Black students, because if Black students are excel, everybody's going to excel, right? We see that Black students are, the numbers have not gotten better, right? Like Dominique just mentioned. So what do we need to do? We need to invest more into our Black students. And we also need to make sure that the educators and everybody who's interfacing with our students are trained or taught to be able to help them navigate some of the things that are unique to their experiences, right? As a Black mom, to boys, I don't know what it's like to be a Black boy, but I'm investing in myself every day to try to figure out how do I support my boys so that they don't have to, navigate this world, this racist world that is very carceral and is very criminalizing to them on a regular basis.
Yeah, well. It's talking about disaggregating data. If you look at LAUSD that says, "Oh, we've conquered the pandemic," and then the asterisk is except for Black students, and actually Latino students aren't doing that great either. Apparently, the achievement gap has narrowed slightly, but 80% of Asian students are testing as proficient. 70% of white students are testing as proficient. 25% of black students. It's just unacceptable. That's a fail. And only 31% of Latino students. That's a failing grade for the school district. There's no school in the world that will pass you with a 25% score.
Absolutely not. And it is very disturbing to hear those numbers, and why it's so important for us to continue to push and advocate. You mentioned earlier before we went to break that the UTLA teachers have been advocating for immigrant students, right? To say, superintendent, school board, we need you to do more for these families. We need that for immigrant students. We need that for Latino students. We need that for black students across the board, and not just because of what's happening with the ICE raids and the Trump administration. These issues in our education system have pre-existed Trump in his administration, right? They've been around for decades. And so we do need to get, like with what are they called? Students Deserve has been doing is advocating to take money from school police, and put that money toward black student achievement. We need to reallocate the dollars and not make our schools into prisons. They already feel like prisons. Take those resources and invest them in the things that our students need: arts, sports, therapy, academic support, tutoring, and all of those types of things. Make those more available for our kids so that they can excel.
Yeah, and that I was talking about the rally at the school district headquarters. They had at least 500 people apparently, and they were saying education, not deportation. And I think we also have to look at the fact that aside from the idea of having ICE agents trying to enter campuses and what that does to immigrant students, I don't know what it does to your kid.
Right.
That child may be their friend or their frenemy. You know what I mean? And who wants to ever have any kid wondering, are the cops going to come on my campus and snatch my classmate? I think it's terrible. They want to establish a 2-block perimeter around schools where ICE agents would not be allowed within 2 blocks of a school. I'm not sure how that happens, but I don't think it's a bad idea. Can we just make a 2-block perimeter for all cops unless they're called for a specific crime that's not involving a student? Calling cops on students is not what we're looking for. They also want counselors to come back before the first day of school to make sure that impacted families are ready to have their kids come back to school. And I'm here for all of that. I just want to make sure we get the same kind of support and subsidy for black children. Absolutely.
And I think with the counselors coming back before the school starts, I'm interested to see how many families choose not to come back to school because of this major threat that's happening with ICE. Black, brown, whomever, right?
I think it's a lot. I have a friend that's a teacher in LAUSD, and she told me that her class has been her summer school classes have been they're crickets. There's hardly anyone there, and she can see the difference. They're also talking about allowing undocumented families who will not, what they say, are sheltering in place in their home, to have a virtual learning option, sort of like a pandemic learning option, and to provide food and personal care items. I don't know about the personal care items part, but I know that during the pandemic, keeping the food going was one of the greatest achievements that I've seen LAUSD do since I've been watching.
Yeah. And I think that the families absolutely need that. One of the things that some of the local nonprofit organizations, I know just this past week, Scope here in LA, Community Coalition and others, had folks come together to figure out how do we support families as they prepare to go back to school, and then also in the face of these ICE raids, even without children going back to school, how do we support? And one of the things that we've done with our kids is to take them out to do some mutual aid, right? Let's go and bag up some groceries, bring donations, and take them to the families who need them, because people are afraid to walk outside of their homes for good reason. And if your kids are going to be sheltering in place with you because you don't want your children to be snatched up and disappeared by ICE, then you need those resources. And LAUSD has the funds to do it. If the kids aren't in the classroom and they're at home, that they still need those services.
Well, the other thing is, at some point, these children are going to show up at school. And if they're missing a month, 2 months, a year, all the way till whenever Trump is out or however long, that they're going to be behind. So there's a benefit to our entire society for them to continue a virtual schooling so they can keep up, or at least do some semblance of keeping up. And on top of that, the LAUSD is calling for a pathway for students who are deported to finish their diplomas. That's an interesting idea. I don't, some would argue that's not really our job, but again, when you look at the revolving door, it seems like it might be better. They're going to come back anyway. Might as well have high school educated kids or citizens coming back. I don't know.
Absolutely. And I think, when you think about the dreamers, which are the kids who were brought here by their parents at a young age and are in the schools, we see that ICE is deporting some of those children. I mean, in fact, they don't have citizenship in another country. And who knows, do we still have 3.5 years with Trump? Lord have mercy.
Yes,
right?
We do.
Right?
3.5 more to go.
3.5 more years. And who knows, what's going to happen when whomever comes into office next, how they work, if they try to work to undo some of these things and create a path for citizenship, the way that the DREAM Act did back when Obama was in office. I have no idea, but you're right. I think that they're going to come back, and we need them to be able to be productive citizens. And I think we do owe it to them. We allowed them to be here from the time that they're, however young they are, these dreamers. And if they want to come back, they would be contributing members of our society. So why wouldn't we want to invest in their education?
800-920-1580 if you've got something to say. I'm Dominique DiPrima. LaMikia Castillo is here, and you're listening to Your Spot, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Fatherhood includes being present during pregnancy, delivery, and beyond, supporting your partner, and advocating for your baby's health. Black fathers play a key role in reducing maternal and infant health inequalities. Join the free AIM Fatherhood Program and make a difference. Visit blackinfantsandfamilies.org/fatherhood.
During this time, it's important for everyone to know your rights. The 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendments in the U.S. Constitution protects every one of us, regardless of immigration status. The 4th Amendment requires a judicial warrant to search your home. The 5th protects your right to remain silent. And the 6th gives you the right to an attorney. Just remember,
no warrant, no key, my privacy. You don't have to speak. No lawyer inside. Don't say a thing. Yeah, we all got rights.
Hey, we all got rights.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. or find them on Instagram at WalkGoodLA. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Yeah, LaMika reminded me the teachers weren't the only ones protesting this weekend. There were Rage Against the Regime protests Saturday all over the country.
Yeah, that's right. Folks are out here in these streets saying we don't agree with the fascist leadership of Trump and his regime in office right now. And so folks were protesting all across the country this weekend, including here in Los Angeles.
That was that 50-51 organization putting those together. And it's interesting to watch how these folks, a lot of them are new to protesting and demonstrating, how they are learning from others who have more experience.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't get to go this weekend, but I did go to the first 50-51 protest. I guess that was a month and a half ago now. I think it was earlier in the summer. And it's interesting because it's a somewhat diverse group of folks. I know Black Lives Matter has been involved in the space quite a bit, and I think it's important for us to have that diversity, and then also for people to learn from the elders who've been protesting for a while, like Baba Akili. I know I learned a lot from Baba Akili, who's one of our elders with Black Lives Matter, about the importance of not just protests, but how you do the work even outside of those protests, right? And so that's really critical for us in the work that we're doing.
Let's go to Charlene calling us from Inglewood. Hi, Charlene. Charlene, you ready?
Hi, how you doing this morning?
Good.
Yeah,
What's on your mind?
I was calling about the Inglewood School District. So this is my second go around raising kids. I have older kids, and I'm having problems right now with Inglewood School District because I have 4 middle schoolers, and they're closing down all the schools in Inglewood, so I'm forced to pick a charter school.
Okay, I started to go there, Charlene, earlier in the conversation, which is that many of these campuses claim they don't have enough students to fill the campuses up. I heard last year that Dorsey didn't have enough kids to really field a football team, that the reason they're supposedly shutting these campuses down is because they don't have enough students. If that's the case, why not let the charters have the empty school buildings instead of closing them down? What is happening? Do you have any idea?
I don't know what's happening.
That's LA. Excuse me. That's LAUSB. I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, but it's the same problem in Inglewood. It's the same problem. They're claiming they do not have enough students to fill those buildings, and that's why they claim they're shutting down those schools in Inglewood.
Right, but so I have a niece who just graduated from Inglewood Unified. She graduated from Inglewood High School, but she started off at Morningside High School. And Morningside is one of the schools that is being shut down in Inglewood. I think it's actually already shut down starting this year. And we don't have enough time to talk about what's really going on in Inglewood, but that I think that the schools there, the changes that are happening are really tied to the city, the gentrification that's taking place in the city. Where Morningside High School is located is, of course, very close by to the new stadium and all the fancy, sports stuff that's happening there. That Costco that's right across the street from Morningside High School, I believe, has also been bought out, and they're going to tear all that down, and they're just going to expand what they're already doing with the sports and the entertainment. And so, yes, it's related to, we don't have enough students to fill the schools, but it's really more related to we can bring in more money to the city. So that's a whole other conversation from my urban planning side of my education that I think we could talk about on another day.
Yeah, I would love to learn more about that. Charlene, I feel for you. What are you doing? We only have a minute, but give me the short version. What are you doing?
So what we have chosen is, as older parents, we look at the school. So right now, our kids are in a predominantly brown and black school, and they're thriving. A lot of black teachers, black principals. That's what we look for. We look for the administrators.
Yeah, that's smart.
And what they have to offer. So since this is a predominantly brown and black school, they have all kind of grants where they're taking our kids on all kind of trips and they're learning new experiences.
That's great. Well, I'm up against the clock, Charlene, but that is so smart because the administrators are the ones you're going to be fighting with most of the time, not the teachers. Appreciate you, Charlene. Appreciate you, LaMika, for coming in. Great to see you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me again.
Mindful Monday is next, and we got phone lines open all morning. You know what to do. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The Trump administration is reacting to a weak jobs report. Unemployment rose by 221,000 and only 73,000 jobs were added. Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer says cutting interest rates could boost hiring.
It does cause me pause to see such large revisions, and I will take a deeper dive and do an analysis of why those numbers look the way they do.
The labor force shrank by nearly 40,000. Texas House Democrats have left the state to block GOP-backed redistricting maps that could add 5 Republican seats. The move follows a heated hearing and party line vote. Democrats say the maps could suppress voters of color. And Stephen A. Smith pushes back on former First Lady Michelle Obama's podcast comments comparing ESPN to reality TV. He also criticized her past remarks on black voters and says he's frustrated with both the Obamas, calling it emotional manipulation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See